The Reform Gamers is brought to you 100% independent and ad-free thanks to our dear patrons over on patreon.com/reformgamers to get yourself sweet, sweet perks such as uncut early access to the episodes, special episodes of the podcast, and more. Head on over to patreon.com/reformgamers and consider lending support and joining the herd. Without further ado, let's hop into the show.
Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 164 of The Reform Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, nostalgia, and everything else that we can think of. I'm your host, Logan.
And I'm his Tom Crook co-host, Adam.
You know, real talk for a second. We'll probably get into this later with the Animal Crossing topic, but you brought it up. You know what I find very interesting about this new Animal Crossing game is the fact that we start off at the bottom, right? We start off on this island in a tent, nothing to our name, trying to climb our way up and all that stuff. And then one of the missions that Tom Crook has you do is you build 3 houses, make furniture for these people, and they don't have debt?
Come on.
Yo, Tom Crook, he is up to something, man. I don't like him. He is shady.
At the end of it, though, I'm going to be like, start at the bottom, now we here? Just going to be walking around, strutting my stuff, hitting Tom Crook with my bug net. Just whack, whack,
See,
whack.
I've been visiting people's islands and just whacking them with my stone axe, and it just bounces off of them. And I'm waiting for the day that it doesn't do that, and the game turns into Doom. And I'm like, well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. We'll get into more Animal Crossing talk here in a second, dear listeners. Hopefully you guys are playing that and enjoying it. It's a great time to play it. Crazy times we are living in. All the quarantines, the coronavirus. I'm convinced.
Wild world we live in.
It's a wild world. I'm convinced this is the start of a zombie apocalypse. Not trying to make light of anything, but also trying to make humor, bring some humor into it, because that's how I cope with super serious things. As I try to make jokes about it and hopefully people laugh, but I made it awkward.
Either laughing or crying.
Or either laughing or crying. Yep. But man, for those of you out there that are affected by this, we're praying for you guys and gals. We're hopefully TRG is a little sliver of air that kind of gives you a break from just the madness. I can't stay on social media for very long anymore before I'm just like, the world is ending. It's wild. It's wild. We won't get into it too much because I know you guys are probably sick of hearing about it. You guys probably need a break from it, and we'll give that to you. But I just know that we're praying for you. If you guys need something, just reach out to us on Twitter or Facebook, all those places. But yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying Animal Crossing Doom. Hopefully you guys are taking out your backlogs and making the best use of the time. But let's be honest, we're all playing the same game that we always play. Knack 2, baby. But yeah, welcome to the Reform Gamers. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into the show. Adam's back again.
I'm back, baby.
Grab a friend. Well, no, social distancing. Tell a friend through social media, and we're gonna have fun. I'm glad my boy's Adam back. Words are hard. Whatever. Adam, you want to give any updates, man? Kind of what's going on with you?
Yeah, I was gonna throw this in probably before we got in the game, but I can do it now, no doubt. So. Yeah, the Sutherland family is no longer a party of 3, but we are a party of 4.
Come on.
Brock Fisher Sutherland was born on March 17th, about 1:30 in the morning, 21 inches long, 7 pounds, 15 ounces. Hannah did great. She was awesome. I'm not going to go in depth in the story, but it was quite the trip. For many who know, this is our first biological child, so we adopted our daughter, our first child, and so this is our first labor and everything, and we tried to prepare and do as much as you can, and then you get there, and she was induced, so it was a little bit different than just going into labor naturally, but she crushed it. It was awesome. I don't know how you go through something like that and not know that there is a God. You see creation happening kind of before your eyes, and to just think that it all just happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I can kind of understand some different things, questions here and there, but if you are in the medical field, if you're a doctor, especially within OB stuff and with children and birth, I don't know how you can't sit there and be like, there is something bigger in play here. I mean, there's just got to be, because of how it all happens, and the baby comes. I mean, the birthing classes and stuff like that we went to, the things that they were teaching us, I'm like, this is straight up crazy business that Hannah's body can respond this way to this baby and whatever. But yeah, we're adjusting to life. We're super thankful. We're blessed. Brock's been eating good. He's been getting better at sleeping. The first couple of nights were kind of rough. But again, it's just a different situation than with Ren. We were formula feeding with her because she was adopted. This baby is being breastfed, and so all these different things I can't help quite as much. So it's a lot more, tiresome for Hannah. But I mean, we're figuring it out. I mean, one takeaway from this coronavirus stuff is I'm getting a lot more time with my family than I would have if I was going into work.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Working from home, and it has its challenges, but it's been really a blessing in some ways for us to get this extra time. And so I'm gonna count my blessings, and I definitely wouldn't wish the coronavirus, but it's one of God's silver linings, and all of it is that I'm getting to spend more time with my family, and helping Hannah really is the biggest thing. Is just trying to help her with Ren, but just making sure, because it's going to take a couple weeks for her to kind of recover from everything. So, yeah, thank you guys for praying. For those of you who knew, I posted in the Facebook group a couple times. But yeah, it's an exciting time. I've been playing that Animal Crossing with the baby in the middle, 4 a.m. It's weird seeing some of y'all been up at like 4 a.m. when I'm up with a baby, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, don't you ever go to sleep? But that's beside the point. But yeah, it's been quite a whirlwind. So we'll see how life continues to shift and change. But yeah, I got a little girl now and a little boy, and
it's awesome, man.
God has been super gracious to us.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, we are stoked for you, man. When you sent me the picture, and you texted that to me, I was like, dude, let's go. So
yeah.
It's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, in less important and less exciting news, our website has some new articles up, some new retrospectives. We put a new one up today, the day that we are recording on Thursday, the 26th. Put a new retrospective up on Super Mario World, so y'all can go check that out. I thought my Metroid Prime article would get more traction, but no, it turns out y'all really want Super Mario World, so I see how it is. I'm not offended. But no, go check that out on the website, thereformedgamers.com. Join our Discord server in case if you're not a patron, you didn't hear the pre-show stuff, but there's some wild stuff that happened this last week. I snapped my fingers with the Infinity Gauntlet. Channels disappeared. It was madness for a while. It was awesome. I know I'm totally not selling Discord very well, but trust me, it was a good time. It was a good time. People were freaking out. Things were on fire. It was awesome. So join our Discord server. We'd love to have you and all that stuff. Also, follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/thereformedgamers. In case you missed it, we have 3 new emotes because Lava Burner just keeps gifting subs to everybody. If you come into the Twitch channel and you don't have a sub to the channel and Lava Burner's there, he's probably going to gift you a sub. That's just how he is. He's Mr. Generous, absolute mad lad, the Christian Thanos, as some people have aptly called him. And the fun part about that is, too, if you are a subscriber on the Twitch channel and you're in the Discord server, you can use those Twitch emotes over on the Discord server. So you can enjoy the Flippy Flops emote, the Termadeer, which is half deer, half Terminator, Words Are Hard, and a few other emotes that are, there's a Metroid one, and there's a Deer Doubloon. There's a few other ones. But yeah, check that out. Twitch.tv/thereformedgamers. Would love to have you all over there. What am I saying? Oh, yeah. And if you would like to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers, get behind the scenes access to our content, get early access to our content as well, and all sorts of other fun stuff. But if you can't support us financially, we get it. Times are hard, especially. I prayed today for people that have been losing their jobs because of the economy, which is just going crazy. I understand that, and it's not something that it's not one of those things I don't want you to feel like you're forced that you have to. If you enjoy the content, you can't support financially, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I would ask you to go to iTunes, whatever podcast app that you're using, go to that store and leave a rating and review for the show on there. That helps us out in a huge, huge way. And I'm trying to remember if I am forgetting anything, and I got nothing. So without further ado, I'm going to stop wasting each other's time. Words are hard. I'm going to stop wasting time, and we're just going to get into the show. So let's get it started with a little bit of what have we been playing. And Adam, I think we can all agree we've been playing an insane amount of Animal Crossing. So, man, tell me about it.
I haven't been playing as much as I'd like to play. I've been playing this new game called Newborn Dad. But yeah, it caught me by surprise. Like, again, I've never played one before, so my main thought was I'm going to get this and maybe play with my wife. She likes her home decorating, and this has got aspects of that. I did, after doing some reading today, we haven't started it up together yet, but hopefully we're going to be doing that in the next couple of days. But I kind of I know a lot of people don't like that you can only have one island.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that for us because I think that's going to be good for us to be working together where I can be doing all of the like objective based things, getting the shops going, and she can basically just be going around collecting whatever products she needs to build whatever she wants to do for her house. So I'm kind of excited about that. But yeah, it's a great game. If you listen to any podcasts, they're all kind of saying a lot of the same things of this game is really, its timing is really good for it amidst this coronavirus. Everyone's at home. Everyone's looking for stuff to do. This game is laid back. It's chill. You don't have to give a ton of focus to it per se, but it's kind of got some of that escapism where I can just do some tedious tasks when I'm sitting at home, twiddling my thumbs looking for stuff to do. I'm feeling like I'm getting some stuff done by doing all these different things in Animal Crossing. So it looks great on the handheld graphics-wise. It looks great on the TV. Some of the time stuff bothers me. I'm not gonna lie. I have time hopped a little bit.
Oh no,
haven't done it a ton. I'm not one of those guys that's jumping all over the place, but I have done a little bit of it because most of the time that I've been able to play has been late at night, and so if I'm going to see any daylight in the game, I've got to do something. So I have been moving it up some so I can play during the day because most of the time during the day I'm doing family stuff. So I've done a little bit of that. But it's fun. I mean, I've enjoyed going to some different people's islands. I've checked out 2 or 3 other islands, so that's been fun. But most of those people, I go to their islands, and they're like, they've got to be 20 hours ahead of me. I feel like I'm so far behind. But they allow me to poach some stuff off them, so it's been a good time. But yeah, it's definitely, I'm glad I've got it. I've enjoyed it. It's really been a good time and really caught me by surprise. There's probably the most surprising game I've played in a while. Like, I know a lot of people liked it. I didn't know if it would be for me, but I've really enjoyed playing it, so I'm thankful that I've got into it.
That's awesome. I think by the time that this episode comes out, there's actually going to be an article up on our website that just has different responses from people in the community, like what they think of the game and things like that, Adam's included. But yeah, I've been a longtime fan. In case you guys didn't listen to the Animal Crossing episode, started on the GameCube, been playing them since then. I skipped the Wii ones because I didn't have a Wii. And yeah, I really dig this game. With the one island thing, there's pros and cons to it, but I don't think it's like I saw in the group, someone posted an article that people are review bombing the game because of that one aspect. And I'm like, that's so stupid. Like it is one little aspect of the game. Sure, it's frustrating at times, but that doesn't really hurt the overall experience. And it's pretty good. Have you gotten the museum unlocked, like the full blown building?
Yeah, I've got the museum. I just got the shop.
Okay.
So I'm getting there. I just built the bridge. So if that gives you any context of where I'm at. So I'm getting there.
Yeah, me and you,
slowly but surely.
Me and you are at the same spot then, because I just put up 3 houses and now I'm making stuff for them. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, so you're a little ahead of me. I'm on kind of, that'll be like my next thing.
Yeah.
But
I'm digging it. We need to visit each other's islands so we can like friend each other and do all that stuff at some point. But yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I think the game's great. I mean, I don't really. I don't.
What's the craziest thing you've caught or like bug or anything like that you've got so far? Have you got anything pretty cool?
I caught a what is it called? A football fish. It's like a.
I've been trying to get that football fish.
Dude, it looks weird, but like it. I didn't know this until I caught one at night. Like it has this little antenna thing that has a light on the end of it, and like if you catch it at night, it's actually glowing pretty brightly. And I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Nice.
I caught that, and I caught this weird like man face beetle thing. It has like a face on its back. It's totally creepy looking, but I've caught one of those, and it's in my museum, so now it gets to kind of haunt me whenever I go in there. But what about you, man? You caught anything wild?
I finally got the tarantula because he kept knocking me out because I didn't know what I was doing. Caught a wasp. I was happy about that because it kept attacking me. But those are nothing special per se. I caught a red snapper. That was kind of nice. I caught a couple new fish here even recently, but yeah, I mean that's the thing. I'm trying to. I don't know any of like if there's strategy to some of this. So I read some articles are like don't sell anything. Some other people are like sell everything. So I don't really know if there's a right way of going. I mean, there's not really a right. You play it however you want to play it.
Yeah, you really just do what you want.
I'm not trying to like make a ton of mistakes where I'm going to end up grinding or having to do something later in the game that I'm not aware of. So, but yeah, it's been. My guy is wearing just pretty basic stuff. I haven't got into like I'm not going to create any stuff. But I think there's at some point in the game you can download other people's designs or something like that maybe.
Yeah, you can use the Nintendo Switch app, which shout out to friend of the show, Michael, by the way, Blitz5 on Twitter. He actually took our 3 new Twitch emotes and turned them into shirt designs in the game. I have all 3 of them. I'll have to send them to you, Adam, so you can get them. So I'm just running around with my Termadeer shirt, rocking the TRG emotes. Some yellow chinos, rocking out those pants because I love them in real life, and some slip-on loafers and some glasses. I'm pretty styling right now. I like the way my character looks.
You do it through Pocket Camp? Is that how you do it? Oops.
No. You get the Nintendo Switch Online app, a little red one that you can use for voice chat too.
Nice.
And then you scan 4 different QR codes. I'll send you the stuff after we record, and you can get them in there. But it's cool. It's cool. But yeah, and dear listeners, if you want those Twitch emote shirts, let me know, and I'll send them out to you on Twitter or whatever social media platform you reach out to us on. But yeah, Animal Crossing New Horizons, fantastic game, loving it. I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, we'll be farther along in the game. But yeah, dear listeners, if you're playing the game and you're enjoying it, or I don't know, just share your thoughts with us on the different social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the Discord server, all that fun stuff. But Adam, apart from that, man, what else have you been getting into?
Yeah, I finally got this game called Control from somebody. I don't remember who, but I finally got it. And so I've been playing that, which is, I don't know how I feel about it. I think I was texting maybe you about this the other day. Like
it's weird.
I want to keep playing it, but it kind of freaks me out.
Yeah.
It's kind of dark, and I don't get into a ton of dark games. So some of that I'm not a huge fan of. But I've been pressing through. I just got to. I'm trying to think where I am. I can't remember the name of the mission, but I think I'm right around halfway. Okay. So I'm getting there. But again, it's just that's competing with Animal Crossing, so I've been kind of going to that. But it is very well made. I can see why people think extremely high of it. It's very well made. The graphics are great. The story. I for a while I was reading some of the articles and some of the things I was finding, but I've kind of stopped doing that because there's so much. It's like I don't get why games don't make that stuff where you can't listen to it. You know what I'm saying?
With
like
audio logs,
if I click on a document, I should be able to listen to that as I'm running around doing other stuff.
Yeah. I can't remember what game it was. It is what it is. Was it BioShock? I think BioShock did that, and it was really nice to have that in there.
Yeah. So I've been playing some of that Control. It's definitely been a good time. I'm trying to think since the last time I replayed The Last of Us Part 1.
Oh, nice.
Preparing for the second one. We moved the PlayStation up into our bedroom, which we like never do. But so Hannah was super tired and going to bed early. So I was kind of waiting as I was waiting for Control. I started up. And so once I got into it, I was like deep, and Last of Us like totally grabbed me, hooked me again. That game is so stinking good. Oh, I forgot how good it was. So I played that again, and then as I was in the hospital, I've been playing a baseball game called MLB 9 Innings. It's a free to play game, so they really like try to get money out of you. Yeah. So if you don't like that stuff, like if you like, there's always pop-ups and buy this card pack, and I just ignore all that. And the gameplay is pretty good. Like I enjoy the gameplay, but all the other stuff is kind of annoying. But if you're looking for a decent baseball game that's free, you don't pay money for, it's a decent one worth checking out. So
Nice.
yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Nice. Well, I forgot to bring this up at the top of the show. One of the big things that's going on with the podcast, 2020 is the year of TRG. No virus is gonna stop us from growing, and so I can talk about this because it's past the embargo. A couple of weeks ago, when Colin Moriarty put out this tweet saying, "Hey, we're sending out review codes for Twin Breaker. If you guys are interested, if you're an outlet, send us fill out this thing here." And I was like, you know what? We're small. Well, like TRG is pretty small, but I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and fill it out anyway and just see how it goes. And even said on the form, hey, even if you're a small outlet, go ahead and fill it out anyway. Just because you're a big outlet doesn't guarantee you're gonna get a review code. And I was like, whatever. We'll see how it goes. A few days later, I get an email saying, hey, here's your review code. Here's the embargo date. Here's the assets for it that it put out on social media. And I kind of just sat there staring at my email for like 10 minutes. I was like, is this real? This can't be real. This can't be real. I put the code in my PlayStation, starts downloading Twin Breaker. I'm like, no stinking way. So anyway, our review for Twin Breaker is up on our website, thereformedgamers.com. It's promoted at the top of the page. And I'm not going to lie, Twin Breaker is pretty good. I like it a lot. It's a classic brick breaker kind of game, similar to Pong and really just those kind of games. It is good. There's a hefty amount of challenge, especially when you get to level 21, and it just changes things up in a real nice way. I mentioned that in the review. But I will say that this trophy list, very respectable trophy list. Other developers, you better take note of this. It's got a good amount of challenge, good amount of easy trophies. There's a handful of hard ones, but I like it. It's a good game. Game is $10 digitally if you guys want to get it. If you want to wait until May when it comes out physical, you're more than welcome to do that. But I can tell you that Twin Breaker is a great game, and I've really, really enjoyed it. It's kind of weird seeing Colin Moriarty have a game, but it's also even weirder that we got a copy of it because I'm like, dude, do you know who we are? Like, we're not. Okay, I'll take it, though. I'll take it. I'm not complaining. Don't take it back. But yeah.
Hey, we got our own little following, so we may not be huge, but we get a couple thousand downloads a month. That ain't bad for us.
That's true. Who am I kidding? We're awesome.
We got our community. Don't hate the dear listeners. They support us. Let's go.
My bad. Watch out, IGN. We're coming for you.
No doubt.
But yeah, so Twin Breaker's really good. Like I said, it's $10. If you guys are looking for something just kind of a little more quick to play and in between different, it depends on how much time you have. But maybe, you're working at home, you need a break. Twin Breaker's a great game to just pop up and play a couple levels. Really cool game. Really enjoy it. If you guys are playing it, let me know what you think. I did put Dragon Quest XI on hold just because with these other games coming out, I'm 40 hours into it. Story's really good. But there's a middle section that kind of drags a little bit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can we skip this? But I'm past that. It's chugging along just fine. It's real good. But I put it on the back burner primarily for this. And I'll just go ahead and announce it now. I think dear patrons already knew this at the beginning of the month. But next episode 165, is going to be Final Fantasy VII to coincide with the release of the remake. We're bringing on the guys from Retro Rewind Podcast to talk about that, Francisco and Paul. So I've been playing that to prepare for it, and I beat it again. And man, Final Fantasy VII has the weirdest story of any game. It is almost to Kingdom Heart kind of levels. Like I said this, I streamed it the other night, and I said this, I was like, I've played this game before, but I don't remember any of this stuff. And as I'm playing through and seeing all the stuff go down, I'm like, this is just weird. Like, I get it, but it's weird, So Adam, I don't know if are you playing that? Like I thought, you got it.
Which game? I'm sorry.
Final Fantasy VII.
I will play the new one, but I haven't played the original.
Okay. You're probably better off doing that.
No, I've downloaded it on my Vita a long time ago, and I've always I need to get to it. But at this point, I don't see any reason why I would go back and play. Yeah. I don't want to say it's a crappier version, but it sounds like it's super dated.
It's really dated.
I don't see a reason to go back when I've got the new one coming up on my heels.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to play it. I tried the demo out, and I just want to try it long enough to be like, okay, do I like this? And I've got a couple games like that, like Bravely Default 2. I want to try. I don't want to get deep in these games.
Right.
I just want to really see and make sure that I like it before I really get into it.
Yeah, I got you. You want to taste the Dr. Pepper with watermelon and see if it's good first before you actually order it. I hear you. I got you.
Yeah, like there's all these trailers coming out for different games. I'm like, once I've seen it, I'm like, I don't want to see anything about Last of Us.
Yep.
Again, like I know I'm getting it. Like I can go black, go dark on it. I don't need to see anything else. I'm in.
Yeah, that's how I was with Animal Crossing. As soon as I saw it get announced and I watched the trailer, I'm like, okay, done, sold. And I went into it blind, and there's been several things I've learned, and I was just kind of like, wow, caught off guard by the fact that I don't have to spam the A button when I'm trying to catch a fish. That was news to me. I've been doing that since the GameCube days. But anyway, so I'll share all my thoughts on that episode, but I'll just say, like, playing through Final Fantasy VII again, the PS1 one, I'm like, I am really glad this game is getting remade. And that demo that they put out was super stinking good, because, that game has not aged well. Anyway, last game I'll talk about is Doom Eternal. Not much to say. It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's a total power trip. You're running around killing demons super fast. I can't remember what outlet said, like, you feel like a force of nature, but you literally feel like a force of nature. Like, you are unstoppable. And so it's like, it's one of those things where, like, I can't remember what I was going to say now, but it's just, it's cool. It's a lot of fun. Haven't really streamed it or anything. I know Pastor Dewson's been streaming it. 2-Bit Lane has been streaming it. So you guys can go check out their content. But it's fun. It's fun. Music's great. It's fun. The guns feel good. The action feels great. Just fun. I can't really think if there's anything else that I've been playing apart from that. Mentioned the Final Fantasy VII demo. And I think that's it. Oh, real quickly, I'll mention this. I'll talk more about it next episode because I haven't really done much. When we put a thing out on Twitter, like, I was asking people what they thought of the GameCube and their favorite games and stuff, when it got a huge amount of response. I think it's like the biggest thing we put out on Twitter, and it just blew up. So because of all that, and I was riding the hype, and I have very bad sense of control, bought a GameCube with Metroid 1 and 2. And so as soon as I play those a little bit more, I'll let you know what it's like to relive that stuff. But it's kind of cool. I got to
remember when I played Metroid on the GameCube and I got some stinking bug and it ruined it for me.
Oh, really? Did it delete your save?
No, a weapon that was supposed to, like, appear or something never appeared, and I got stuck.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, 5-6 hours into the game.
Yeah, that's never good.
I wasn't going to go back and redo it.
Yeah,
but so I'm really hoping they eventually do like a remastered collection on the Switch, because I'll definitely go back and play them. But I was like, no. And those controls are super dated and super jank. They're jank, man. The way you aim with the C-stick and stuff like that, I'm like...
I must just have nostalgia or something, because I'm not having... I mean, it's weird. I'm not going to lie. It's weird.
I would have rather have played it on the Wii, where you could use the motion controls.
That's fair. Motion controls did make that game more fluid and less clunky. I get that. I was just tired of waiting on Nintendo to put the trilogy out on the Switch. I'm like, I'm done waiting on you guys. I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. Of course, knowing my luck, like here in a couple months or something, they'll be like, oh yeah, Metroid Prime Trilogy, it's out right now on the Switch. And I'm like, no, thanks guys. But yeah, so that's what we've been playing. A little bit of what have we been reading though, Adam? Man, what you been getting into?
Yeah, I've been I plan on doing some heavy gaming when I was in the hospital waiting for this baby to happen, and then after the baby, when like baby was resting, Hannah was resting. But I was like, you know what? I want to read a book, because books are important. So I was looking at my bookshelf and kind of thinking, okay, what book do I want to read? I don't want anything too long because I want to finish it. So just to beat this horse really dead for us on our podcast, I picked up Prayer by John Onwucheckwa. It's part of the 9 Marks book series on building healthy churches. It's a small book, but really, really, really good read. What I really appreciated about this book was it approaches prayer not necessarily from individual prayer, but the importance of corporate prayer as a church, and speaking specifically in the worship gathering. And that's really something we've been as a church challenging ourselves on, not just, yes, praying individually, praying in groups and stuff like that, but as a leadership team, we've been really kind of talking through, okay, what does it look like for us to incorporate prayer more in our worship gatherings? Because really, what happens on weekends usually sets the trajectory of the church. What we put in our worship services is not hard and fast, but it casts some of that vision. So we've been trying to grow in that.
Mm-hmm.
So this book was extremely helpful in thinking through, okay, what does prayer from a corporate church level look in weekend worship, or setting aside different meeting services and things for it. So really, really helpful read for that. But I'll just read so he's talking about contentment and knowing that, yes, God can do the impossible. Like there's no point in praying if God can't do the impossible. And then he talks about this, says, his ability should cause our hearts to soar and ask for the impossible, but his sovereignty and wisdom should keep us grounded. They remind us that although God can do the impossible, he doesn't have to, and we can trust him regardless. Peace is found here and only here. So it was just a good, that's one of many, I underlined the tar out of this book, but just a good reminder of, yeah, God can and will do impossible things. I have just an example of a prayer, like a specific prayer request, and God blowing out of the water. So we were supposed to be taking a trip down to Texas to do some kind of disaster recovery stuff from, there's still people, thousands of people living in RVs and stuff from the hurricanes. Their houses still aren't done. So our church has gone down and done some recovery stuff over the last couple of years. So we were supposed to go do that, but with coronavirus, got canceled. So we're in the process of canceling that trip, but refunds aren't guaranteed necessarily. So I was praying this morning, Lord, I know you can do it if you want, but if we could get some correspondence from Southwest, knowing that they're going to be, because they said it could take up to a month to get that information if we're going to get our refund. And I'm like, that's hard for a team to be like, I'm not going to know if I'm getting my money back for a month. So really praying this morning, like, God, maybe by Monday, that'd be awesome if I could find out by Monday. And then I got a call like an hour later that they said there was like a flight change for our trip, and they just want to let me know. And I'm like, well, I'll put in a cancellation request. They're like, well, since your flight changed, we can go ahead and process your cancellation and refund now because of the flight change. And I'm like, yes. Like,
nice.
It's like I didn't expect it to happen that way, but it was kind of a roundabout way of God answering that prayer. So just super excited and thankful for that, because it's like when you're leading these trips, you really just want to do what you can to lead well. So that was a huge kind of weight off my shoulders of knowing everyone's going to get their money back for the flights and stuff. So yeah, God's been growing me still in prayer, but definitely a book worth checking out. So reading that book, and then started my next commentary. If you're a patron and you get this early, this might be active. I don't know if it'll still be active by the time the episode comes out, but Amazon has got but most of the Christ-Centered Exposition series on Kindle for $3 and $3 a commentary.
Oh, wow.
So everybody knows I rant and rave and talk about these commentaries literally all the time. You can go get them for super cheap. So I bought like 10 of them last weekend. So I started up Isaiah. That's my next book I'm going to be going through. So just getting going in that. But yeah, so it's been good. I've actually started reading Our Daily Bread, kind of supplementing my daily devotions. That's been really good and encouraging. So yeah, trying to get into reading as much as I can here recently.
Right on. Well, as far as what I've been reading, I've been learning the how to use OBS handbook because I've been trying to get my church online for streaming, which we did that here recently, and it went off pretty smoothly. PTL for that. But as far as like what I've been reading in my private time, like I realize I go in seasons of like reading like books and stuff. Like the beginning of the year, like I was knocking out of the park. I was reading books and getting after it. But like the last month, last month and a half, I've just kind of like stopped reading other books. Like I just put Atomic Habits on pause, put like whatever other books I was reading on pause. And I'm at a point where like if I can just read the Bible every day, I'm doing good. Like if I can do that, I'm all right. And so, recently I finished Second Thessalonians, which isn't really much to brag about because it's a pretty short book, but still finished Second Thessalonians. And started reading First Peter, which is a book I've been through multiple times, but there's always that thing about like how you read a book that you've gone through several times, but there's that one time where it just hits different,
Mm-hmm.
And so I was reading through it, and this is from a couple weeks ago, reading, but I'm going to read it anyway. And it's in chapter 1, verse 24 and 25, where it says, "All flesh is like grass, and all its glory like a flower of the grass. The grass withers and the flower falls, but the word of the Lord endures forever." And this word is the gospel that was proclaimed to you. One of the unique situations we find ourselves in with this virus and social distancing and quarantining and working from home and all that is I've noticed that not just among my students and parents in my community, in my church, but just people all over, they're being forced to confront the scariest thing in their lives, which is themselves. And they have to take stock of their priorities and kind of the things that they've made and the things that they've put into motion. And they're kind of questioning, was this worth it? And I'm seeing some families being like, it's really great that we have had this time together to really connect and just talk and just hang out and just kind of do life together. I don't know if there's if anybody in my community is gonna be pro homeschool after this, but I wouldn't be surprised because it seems like a lot of families are just connecting more and having those moments, those little wins. Like I saw this one parent of a student who said that they were going on like bike rides every day and runs and stuff. I'm like, dude, that's a parenting win right there. And I saw this other parent like making TikToks with their kid. I'm like, that's another win right there. And so it's cool. But all that to say is that, a lot of this stuff that we put a lot of time and energy to, it's ultimately meaningless. There's stuff that we put a whole lot of time and energy into, and it just doesn't matter. Like I have kids who are really into athletics, and they're like, some of them aren't going to be able to do track because track's been canceled. And they're like, well, was it worth it to put all its energy into something? Like what really matters now that all my stuff is canceled? Like what is really important? What is really worth putting my time into? And I'm not saying that like sports or anything like that are bad, but it's pretty easy for them to become an idol. And so in this time, I'm seeing a lot of people kind of reconnect and get into the word. And really that's the one thing that's been constant throughout this whole thing is scripture, at least for me. And even just having these little reminders of God's presence every day has been huge for me. It's been the one thing that's kind of keeping me sane through all of this stuff, is that even though this virus is going across the world, God's still present. God is still having little victories here and there amongst these families. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen after this with these families that are essentially turning to God and having these little family ministry kind of things starting up in their homes, which is biblical. I know for some youth pastors, that's kind of scary because it's like, wait a minute, that kind of puts me out of a job. But yeah, that's kind of, so it happens when parents are rearing their kids up and discipling their kids. There's kind of no real need for a youth pastor unless you need someone to coordinate lock-ins and crazy, wacky games and stuff like that. But like, I don't know, it's cool to it's cool and frustrating at the same time to see through this time, my role kind of shift from not just a youth pastor, but going into family ministry, so to speak.
Well, that's why you're important. I would say we'll always need these different roles, but it's equipping.
Yeah.
Instead of necessarily leading, you're equipping your youth to go out and be faithful disciples. You're equipping parents to lead their children effectively. So The Bible had pastors, elders. We maybe get a little specific to sometimes the different, kind of specific areas of shepherding, but they were still in the Bible for a reason to help shepherd the different areas. And so it's just going to be looking hopefully different. I really believe we've kind of been talking about this as a church. Our church is going to be different because of the coronavirus. We've had a great online reach, kind of sporadically and miraculously. God's been so gracious in that. I'm like, we're praying for this, Lord willing. We could have a huge influx of people coming to our church because we've gone online and we've done it pretty well and effectively. I'm excited to see those first couple gatherings, all church gatherings when we get back. Those are going to be some of the most powerful services I think the modern church has gone through, because everybody is really seeing how much we need it. We miss it. So I think that when I can't even comprehend what that first Sunday is going to be like when we're able to get back together after. Realistically, it's probably going to be months of doing this. Man, what that first service is going to be like after months of gathering online.
Yeah.
It's going to be overwhelming. I'm going to be a wreck.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be so powerful seeing what God did. And I don't want to say in our absence, because we definitely have a presence.
Right.
But what he did in our unique situation that we're going through now, I think it's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a powerful series of weekends once we're able to get back together.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking it's going to be some kind of crazy revival. Just breaks out across the country.
I'm hoping so, man.
Just saying. It'll be awesome. But yeah. That's what we've been reading. Guys doing some crazy stuff, even in the midst of this crazy season of life. Real quick, before we switch over to the topic, dear listeners, a quick reminder to rate and review the show on your podcast app of choice, whether that's iTunes, Google Play. I don't even know what all's out there really. Just go to podchaser.com/thereformedgamers and leave a review there. That's fun. So let's get into the topic of the show. The Nintendo 64, episode 164, Nintendo 64. Just perfect timing. So kind of what we're going to, if you've been following our website, you kind of are familiar with the idea of a retrospective. We basically take a look at a particular topic. This one's going to be the N64. And we just talk about kind of like our experience with it, our favorite games, when we got it, just some fun memories, things like that. And like I said, Wesley Ray's been knocking out the retrospective series on our website. He did one on the 3DS around the time that the 3DS had some kind of anniversary. So you guys can check that out there. But yeah, so we're basically going to do that. And it's just fun to kind of go back and look at these old consoles and be like, man, just kind of reminisce a little bit, because I had some fun doing that with the GameCube here recently. But let's start it off with that, man. Let's go with, where did we first play the N64? Did you own one? Did you go to a friend's house? What was that experience like for you, Adam?
I didn't own one initially. I was always it felt like growing up, I felt I was always behind in everything. I had the super tight pants when baggy pants were in. By the time I got baggy pants, skinny jeans were back in. That's just, we were never well-to-do. We were always, Lord was faithful. I never went without a meal. But I would never say that we were a wealthy family or anything like that. So I feel like that was kind of how I was with video games also, and systems. When the Super Nintendo came out, I was finally getting a Nintendo. Mm-hmm. And so when the 64 was coming out, I was deep in Super Nintendo stuff. But I remember, always being a huge gamer. And so I would some of my friends had a 64, so I'd go over there and I'd play, WWF or WCW, wrestling games. Those are some of my initial memories. Loving, Mario 64. So I started off playing it at other people's houses. And I was deep into it. Some of our best friends and family friends in Kentucky, they always kind of got the newest and latest greatest. So I would. There was a while when they had the Super Nintendo, I was always poaching their games off them.
Yeah.
Then when they got the 64, I was like, oh man, this is it. This is my favorite. So when I ended up getting one, I'm trying to remember how it went. So that cycle was like N64 and PlayStation 1. They were kind of in that same generation. So I initially got a Nintendo 64 and kind of had that. And then the PlayStation was kind of, I had different people talking about it. And at that point, I wasn't into the games that I would be into now, like Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy, those different games.
Mm-hmm.
I was still pretty basic in the games that I was playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up either traded or sold my 64 to my buddy so that I could buy a PlayStation. So I got the PlayStation for a while, but then my buddy wasn't a big gamer, so I didn't really know why he bought it.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember going over to his house one weekend, and I'm like, dude, I'm taking this back. And I'm just like, I don't know if you probably say I stole it, but I'm like, I just took it from him. I'm like, you ain't even playing this. I'm taking it back. So at that point, I had the PlayStation and the N64. And so, I mean, I wore it out. It was really different. I mean, even back then, I played Mario Kart, Mario 64, a lot of those games. But I feel like high school, college is when I really at that point we were out of the 64, era.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the PlayStation 2, Xbox 360s. But whenever we would do group hangouts, we were always going back to the 64.
Yeah.
And we can get into more of some of why that was later, but I almost think that most of my 64 memories come from playing them 2 or 3 generations later than really when it was first coming out.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. I kind of had a similar thing. When I was growing up, I rocked the NES for a long time and really enjoyed that. I had the Sega Genesis after that, but it was when what came out at that time? It was when the PlayStation 1 had just come out. And yeah, it was after the PlayStation 1 had come out and I had gotten the Super Nintendo instead. So I was behind because I wanted to go in order, which is kind of weird, I guess. But I wanted to play the Super Nintendo, even though all my friends were playing PlayStation 1. And, I just really liked Nintendo growing up. I was a Nintendo fanboy. I loved Mario, loved those games. And so the N64, I looked this up. It came out in 96, which I was like, wow, I did not know it came out in that year. I thought it came out closer to 2000. But I didn't get it until it was after Legend of Zelda had come out, the Ocarina of Time. And so that was after 98. So I want to say I got it around 1999, year 2000. But I had played it at a friend's house originally and just kind of saw some of the different games, Super Mario 64 and all that. Actually, it was 2 of my friend's house. I played it both there, and that's kind of how I got introduced to the N64. I was like, man, this is really cool. The graphics look great. Of course, you play them now, the graphics don't look that great. But for the time, I was like, man, this is really high tech. And so I remember just playing that, and I thought the controller was cool. I was probably one of the few kids who thought that controller was cool. But I remember first playing it and just really, really liking it a lot. I was just kind of blown away by it in a lot of different ways. And I remember going into a game exchange, for those of you that remember that, going in there, trading in, was it my Genesis? I can't remember what I traded in. It was either the Genesis or maybe it was my Game Boy. I can't remember what I traded in. I traded in something, and I got an N64 with Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time because I had heard people just talking about it at school. And I distinctly remember getting this because I got the gold cartridge for Ocarina of Time, and I was like, dude, this game's legit. The cartridge is gold. It's kind of shiny. What am I about to get into? And I remember plugging that game in and playing it, and I was just like it was like a whole new world in a lot of different ways. It kind of opened my mind to what the future of video games is going to be like. And I played that game for hours on end. There were times where my parents were getting real mad at me because I would just stay up late playing it. But man, between that, the Spider-Man game that was made by Neversoft, I think Tony Hawk was on there too because you could be Spider-Man in there. Between that, man, when you said the WCW wrestling games, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about those games. What was it?
Reaching into the crowd, pulling up a chair.
Yes, and
The guy with it reaching under the ring, pulling a chair out, or a barbed wire baseball bat.
oh man,
and just railing, and eventually their head would kind of cut open. They'd have a little blood spot. I mean,
these like little red
so
pixels,
good.
dude. Man, that was back when wrestling games were really stinking good. Now they're just a goofy mess where they're just riddled with glitches and just they're rushed.
Yeah.
But man, that was back when wrestling games were so good. But anyway, like, yeah, it was a pretty big step for me, like in gaming, and that was when I got introduced to just a lot of different games. You know, before I had kind of played, what was it, F-Zero, A Link to the Past, Super Metroid, Punch Out, like those kind of games. So my scope of gaming was pretty small in terms of what I thought games were, but the N64 opened me up to a whole lot, like adventure games like Legend of Zelda, the sport kind of action wrestling games, racing games with like, was it Cruisin' USA, I think was one, and shooters. I played my first shooters on there, which was Turok 2 Seeds of Evil. I rented that thing out like crazy at the movie, or not the movie theater, the video store back when you could rent those. So man, the N64 was a huge thing. It was a big step up in gaming, at least for me. And I remember just sinking a ton of hours into it. And I put this out for people to respond to, those of you, the dear listeners. And one of our newest dear patrons, Korodaki, man, you will have to let me know if I pronounced that right. They left a comment on the Patreon post. You guys can leave comments on stuff like that on Patreon. He put, my family didn't have an N64, but my aunt did. So I got to play it a bit whenever I was at her house. I remember me and my cousin being obsessed with Mario Kart when we were young and had so much fun. One of my favorite games to play on a Nintendo console still. Man, I remember getting into some heated competitions with Mario Kart. Did you ever play that on N64?
Oh heck yeah! Word out.
It just, what are some? Do you have any crazy moments with that, or even like another game, maybe Super Smash Brothers or something?
Oh. Well, I mean, if we're gonna get into games, if we want to start talking about games, I mean, I'm just gonna walk through it. Different games that have some sort of there's some sort of memories too. So Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire. I remember playing that game. That was one of the games that my buddy in Kentucky had. I never got very far in it because I wasn't even big into Star Wars at the time, but I thought that game was super cool. Let me see here. I'm just kind of going through Donkey Kong 64, the expansion pack. Like that was like this whole new like accessory thing you had to buy just to play the game. That was one of those games. Like that was like my first open world game I feel like I really played. Funny story, I never actually played Ocarina of Time on the 64.
Oh wow.
I played on the 3DS. Like I wasn't really into Zelda at that point. Again, I was a very different gamer back then than I am now. So like Donkey Kong was one of those first like real open world games that I ever really played. Speaking of Super Smash, that was one of those games also. Didn't really play till I got in college. And my senior year, a couple guys who were younger than me were really into Smash. So like every day before chapel, we'd go play for like 30 minutes, and they were like legit good. And so like I learned how to get better. Like I was probably never really on their level, but every once in a while I'd get a good hit and stuff like that. So that was good. I mean, GoldenEye was good in its time. I don't think it's held up at all. You can't really go back and play it now, but who didn't love playing GoldenEye? Pokemon Snap.
Oh, I forgot about that.
We were, I think it was my brother's bachelor party. Again, at this point, I'm freshman in college, maybe, or going into my freshman year. We're at this like cabin that we rented, and again, we're a bunch of believers, so it's a pretty clean bachelor party. We're not doing anything stupid, but there's a group of us just inside playing Pokemon Snap at a bachelor party. Like, how big of nerds are we? And we convinced one of my friends that when we beat the game, like a camera popped out of the 64 and like took a picture of us. pretty funny that I don't know why he believed us. Mario Party games, classics. I mean, that Mario Party is probably where most of my memories are really built around the 64. Me and my buddies wore out the Mario Party games and the Pokemon Stadium games because of the mini games that were in it. We would play the mini games in Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 like crazy. So like when I think of the Nintendo 64, my biggest memory that probably comes to mind other than Mario 64 is Mario Party. Me and my friends literally played that. I mean, we still will get together occasionally and play it. And we've had so much fun playing those games. I mean, people create memories doing a lot of things, but me and my buddies, I mean, I don't want to say it was always like good, clean fun, but we tried to be as good as we could growing up. But like, if the biggest thing, like, we didn't really get in trouble because we would go out, let's go get some Mountain Dew, we'll get Taco Bell at 2 a.m, and we'd come back and play a 50 round of Mario Party, a 50 turn round. Like, we just enjoyed being with each other, hanging out with each other, and playing video games. And Mario Party, I mean, we'd have teams like, all right, you take 10 turns and this guy. I mean, we just had a good time playing those games. And that's when I think of Nintendo 64, I think of, that party element. 4 controllers plugging into the system. It allowed us to do things with our friends that, you could do them on PlayStation, but you had to have crazy adapters. I think there was even an adapter maybe on the Super Nintendo or something crazy that you could do, if I'm remembering correctly.
I don't know.
But this was like that system that allowed us to like really do multiplayer in a different way. 4-player split screen on GoldenEye, like all of these different things really created a lot of good memories for me and my buddies growing up. So call it whatever, but I'm indebted really in many ways to the 64 for a lot of great memories that I'll always have with me and my buddies. That will always, if you get us in a room together, we're gonna get back to some memory playing probably the 64 or video games in general. But just a great system for multiplayer and creating memories with others.
Yeah, that was something that Matt Crumley had said on in our Discord server. He had, because I had asked for like favorite games or memories, and he wrote in, it was like, favorite N64 game, GoldenEye, no. Smash Brothers, no. Mario Kart. N64 was great for multiplayer. Also, 4 spots for controllers. That was crazy. Like PlayStation 1 had an adapter we could put in 4, but it was like this weird boomerang looking thing, and it was just, I don't think it worked half the time. But yeah, 4-player co-op, man. I remember just, because he mentioned Smash Brothers there. Mario Kart was a big one. Like this one family, words are hard. My mom's friend, we would always go over there because I was friends with her kids, and we would always play the N64. We would play Mario Kart, and it would just be this thing where we would just constantly be trying to beat each other. And that's what Mario Kart does. It really brings out the worst in people because it gets you shouting, it gets you all riled up, and all sorts of fun stuff. But it's fun. But man, I remember when Super Smash Brothers came out. I still remember the commercial for it, where it had people in like suits of like Mario, Donkey Kong, Pikachu. I think there was like Kirby, and like you see them walking in this field of flowers, and they just start beating each other up and stuff. And I remember playing that game at a friend's house because I didn't get it for a while, and I remember going over there and playing it all the time. I'm like, this is so cool. Like, and I can't really. I've always tried to wonder or try to figure out like what it is about Smash Brothers that just makes it so cool. I don't know if it's just how good the fighting is, or if it's the attachment to the characters that people have, or maybe it's just everything. But we would get together almost every weekend, almost every day after school even, and we would go to one of my friend's house, and we would play it all the time. We would just be doing tournaments and things like that. And man, we would get real heated too. Like, I'm pretty sure I pushed a kid off a stool because he made me mad for beating me in the game one time. But like that, it was perfect for that, for the multiplayer stuff. It really did a good job of bringing groups of friends together. Mario Party being one. I think I mentioned this in the last episode. Doom 64 was another one that I didn't really like watching my friend play because it kind of freaked me out. But at the same time, I'm like, this is really cool. Turok 2 Seeds of Evil was more my speed. Me and my cousin would always get together and play that. Just these cool multiplayer experiences that you kind of always had on the Super Nintendo and the NES. But on those systems, you were more or less cheering for your friends. You're just kind of watching it happen. But now you have a system where you're all playing together and creating those memories and engaging in those experiences. And it was huge. Like I said, N64 opened up our minds as to what the future of gaming would be in a lot of ways when it came to that particular aspect of it. And you saw other companies try to go for that later. Xbox was really trying to do that as well. PS2, not so much. But like, dude, it's wild, man. It's wild. I think another one, and this one came up several times. And Adam, I'm curious if you played that because I know you're kind of into Star Wars too. But did you ever play Star Wars Rogue Squadron?
I didn't. At that point, when it first came out, I wasn't the Star Wars fan that I am now.
Gotcha.
And so a lot of those games I didn't really get into.
Gotcha. Okay. I remember, I'll say for me, that was a big one that I played at a friend's house too. I don't think I ever, did I get it? I can't remember if I got it at one point or not. But it was a game that we played at my friend's house a lot. There was just something about getting into an X-Wing or an A-Wing and just blowing stuff up. It was really good. I know EA is like re-releasing all these old Star Wars games. I wish they would re-release Rogue Squadron because it was just so good. Though, knowing how these N64 games are, they're always they aren't quite how you always remember them. So they could re-release it and it's probably not as good. But it just, man, it was really good. I'm looking through some of the other responses here in our Discord server. Wesley Ray writes in and says, I lost so many hours on the N64. The game I probably played the most was Harvest Moon 64. It was my first Harvest Moon game, and I got it on a whim because the box art was pretty anime looking, and I was an aspiring anime fan. This was one I never got into. I had a friend that was super into it, but I never got into it. I think like my first real Harvest Moon style game was Stardew Valley. Adam, did you ever see the game? Did you ever play the game Harvest Moon? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm familiar with what it is now, but I don't think at that point it was even on my radar.
Gotcha, man.
It's crazy how much, like, I was a gamer then. I've always been a gamer, but how much of it, again, just I'm deep into it now. Probably because I've got time, money, we've got the internet. Like, if you didn't get magazines or if you didn't go to Best Buy, or not Best Buy, if you didn't go to Blockbuster, you didn't really know what was going on. But now we have access to so much more. It's like a game changer.
Yeah.
Like, we can follow so much more. But back then, like, it was just a totally different day and age to where if you didn't have your buddy saying, like, hey, you should play this game, or you had the guy at Blockbuster saying, hey, have you tried this game out? It's pretty fun. You probably were playing the same general games over and over and over. So it's definitely a different day and age. So, yeah, Harvest Moon wasn't even on my radar back then.
That's wild. This thought just crossed my mind. Has TRG, at least our Facebook group, or maybe all the ways that we're interacting with people, has it become that experience for people? I wonder, like that Blockbuster experience. You come into the Facebook group and it's like, bro, have you played this game? And it's like, dude, I've never even heard of that game. It's like, dude, you gotta try it. Kind of reminds me when you first came in and we got you on the show and you started playing those games. No
doubt. I think TRG has evolved some than those early days.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a bad thing. We're just so much larger now.
Sure.
So it's hard. There's a lot more news stuff. At the beginning, it was like just a lot of people talking about games they love and this and that. Now there's so many people, and that's a blessing. But some of that aspect, I think, has kind of died away. Like, there was a while where it was almost like I feel like I have to play everything because of the Facebook group. Yeah. I don't feel like at least I'm there anymore, maybe because I've been around for so long with the group. Maybe new people getting in it. Maybe it's that feeling. But I know when the group first started, that first year or so, it was very much that of, hey, this is where you go to find new games and to find out what's good and to talk about, hey, what's your, 5 games that you never played that you wish you would, and everyone's like, "Oh, you got to play that." And then it's like, all right, well, I'm going to go play it then because I'm an adult and I can do that.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. We should do an episode on like video game store, not like video game store, but like video stores and renting games and stuff. Because like I remember like I would have the Nintendo Power. Like I was that kind of kid that would have the Nintendo Power. I was up to date on all the Nintendo stuff, but I wouldn't catch everything. So there'd be those moments where I'd go into the video store and see this game. And I'm like, oh, this looks cool, you know. And I would try it out. I wasn't really into anime back then, so I probably saw Harvest Moon and was like, this is dumb looking. I'm sure if I played it now, I would love it. But there's always that experience of like, man, this is out. I didn't even know this was coming out. You know, I think one of the things for me was like going over to a friend's house and seeing Pokemon Coliseum for the first time. And I'm like, wait. I take my Pokemon from my Game Boy game or whatever. No, it didn't have the Game Boy attachment then, I don't think. But either way, like I was like, wait a minute. The Pokemon are 3D and they're fighting each other like they do on the Game Boy. Like it just blew my little mind. I couldn't handle it, you know? And then you had the other games like Pokemon Snap. I think you mentioned that earlier. And then, crud, what was the other Pokemon? Was Hey You Pikachu on N64, the one with the microphone?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. Someone will have to remind me in there. But like, I know you said you were a different gamer at the time, but like, what was kind of your response to seeing Pokemon? Because this was like when Pokemon Coliseum and those came out, this was like at the height of when Pokemon fever was really blowing up. You know, what was your experience during that time? Like, what did you think of all of it when you saw it? Just kind of.
Man, I could have cared less about Pokemon back then. When Super Nintendo, I played Madden.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of my memory, or not N64. I'm thinking Super Nintendo. N64. I played Mario 64, Mario Kart, Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye, sports games. I was into the Maddens, so I would play those. And at that point, you had NFL 2K games, and that's when that was right before EA got the license for NFL games, and there were like a couple legit football NFL games that were like really pressing EA like Madden games. And then it was right at that point where it's like, man, 2K may actually take over and become the best NFL simulation games. And then EA got the license and they just died away. Crazy times. But the game, I mean, I know Pokemon was big, but we haven't even mentioned the GOAT
What's
yet.
that?
And the GOAT being Indiana Jones and the
here we
Infernal
go.
Machine.
I knew this was going to come
I
up at some
originally
point.
played this game. I originally played this game on PC, but it is on the Nintendo 64. Blockbuster exclusive. Talk about the exclusive of exclusive deals. I've been looking at all these top N64 top games. Shame on every single person who had a top N64 game list and they didn't have Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine on this list. Shame on you. You coward, you call yourself a games journalist, and you've never played one of the best 64 games that's ever been on the system. You like Tomb Raider? You like Uncharted? Well, you should have played Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine, because this is where it all began, people. This was the original. This is where it started. This is the OG adventure game that you should be playing, and it's Indiana Jones, for goodness sakes. Get after it, people, if you've never played it. It actually holds up decently well. It's not perfect by any means because it was on the 64, but I can go back and play that game today and enjoy it. That's my rant. Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, where have you been? This game is so good. It just got ruined because it was exclusive to stinking Blockbuster.
I honestly love hearing you talk about this game because every time you do, you get so fired up about it.
I love it. I love this game. Like I've got the SNES Classic up in the Ren's playroom with a little TV. I'm like, I think I need to move the 64 up there so I can play Indiana Jones again. I'm like, I think I need to do that. So I've got the itch. It's probably going to be coming soon. Again, there's probably way too much nostalgia. The game's probably not as good. Actually, no, it is as good as I remember it. That game was good. I'm not even going to go there. The game was good.
Oh man. See all the
You got the world. You travel the world in this game. You got all kinds of. You got a snow level. You got the tropical island level. You're all over the place. You're solving puzzles. Again, if you like Tomb Raider, the original Tomb Raiders, this game was basically a clone of the Tomb Raider games.
Oh man. Our longtime listeners knew what was coming. As soon as they saw we were doing it,
I held off as long as I could.
See, though, here's the thing. I don't mean to burst your bubble, but you said this was the first? Bro, Pitfall came out in 1982 and started all this, and then Tomb Raider came out in 96.
Let me see. Tomb Raider came out in 96.
And this game came out in 99.
Okay. But this was Indiana Jones. Tomb Raider. Pitfall, okay, that's an NES game. It's hard to even consider what it is. But Indiana Jones was... It's like when God of War got remade and this most recent system kind of reinvented the game.
Okay.
This was like the God of War of action adventure games.
So this is like the game that came out that made everybody forget about the games that came before it. I got you.
5 people that played it other than me, yes. We all thought that. Blame Blockbuster.
That's awesome.
Hashtag.
Wait, so was it...
Start the Twitter.
Wait, so was it seriously exclusive to Block? Like, could you even buy it? Or, like, could you just not... Like, was it just something you had to rent?
I think you had to buy it from Blockbuster.
Really?
I remember talking about this. I think I was talking about this with the guys from Super Best Friends Video Game Sleepover because they were talking about N64 games at some point, and they were ended up talking about it on their show because I mentioned it, and I think they did some research saying it was Blockbuster exclusive.
Dude, that's so wild. That's wild to think that like a video rental store had an exclusive on a video game. That's crazy.
Yeah, here we go. Blockbuster's curious collection of exclusive games.
They had more than one exclusive?
Yeah.
What?
You may not have known, but Razor Freestyle Scooter N64 was exclusive.
I never.
NFL Blitz Special Edition. Clay Fighter.
Clay Fighter was a Best Buy
Indiana Jones.
Dude.
And the Infernal Machine.
Dude.
Let's see here.
Clay Fighter was my jam.
While the game was praised for its detailed plotline and interesting stages, it was ultimately torpedoed by the killer of so many Nintendo 64 games, poor controls. The controls aren't that bad. They're making them seem... Again, it's an N64. All games had bad controls.
Yeah, you got that right.
Go try and play GoldenEye. Those controls stink right now.
I'll say this. Go back and play Super Mario 64 again. Those are some weird controls.
Bite your tongue. Bite your tongue. Anyway. Yeah, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 exclusive Blockbuster games.
That blows my mind.
All for the Nintendo 64.
That blows my mind.
Actually, 1 PlayStation.
What was the PlayStation game? Does it say?
Eggs of Steel, so you can only imagine how good it was.
I don't even know what that is. Never heard of it.
It looks like hot garbage is what it looks like.
I've at least heard...
Let me read the description. It should come as no surprise at this point, but Eggs of Steel was yet another awkward, laborious game that further cemented Blockbuster's exclusivity program as the den of depravity with the motto, "Who gives a S?" This game stars a low-res animated gif of an egg wearing overalls who walks around in pre-rendered still meal while reading letters from his girlfriend. His name is Charlie, and sometimes he dies, but not often enough.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I'm about to hit up DK Oldies, their website. I'm like, hey, send me this game. I have to see it now.
Yeah.
I've at least played Clay Fighters though. That's a fun game. I like it. It was probably a little too mature for me and my cousin playing at the time because I think there was probably some innuendo in there. Like I feel like I remember seeing something in there where I'm like, this is like watching Beavis and Butthead as a kid, and I shouldn't be watching this because my parents are going to come in here and get mad. It was fun. It was fun. Good stuff.
You know what I need to do? I need you to send me the capture card thing that you got, and I will stream on our Twitch Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine.
I'm down for that. I can do that. I'm up for that because I mean we all know. We all know I'm not going to play it, but I'll definitely watch you play it for sure. Man, that's wild.
If you had a 64, I would send you my copy.
I have a 64.
I should send you my copy
Do
of the
it, man.
game so you can stream.
I'll stream
it.
that sucker. We'll see.
You lose it, I will
No,
hunt you down.
I won't lose it. I know how precious that game is to you. I still have flashbacks to like, I can't remember what episode it was, but it was you and Drew Hood talking about it and talking about Super Mario 64 and stuff. Like, I just remember how passionate you are about those two games specifically. But yeah, good stuff. I gotta say, Final Error 404. I don't even remember what his real name is, but he's on our Discord server. He says Superman 64 was the best game on N64. Such good graphics and so much replayability.
I remember renting that game from Blockbuster, putting it into my system, and hating myself.
Right.
I've never felt so ripped off in my life. I couldn't believe the garbage that I had just rented. I'm like, this is seriously the worst game ever, and I just spent $6 on this rental. It was so bad.
I, growing up as a kid, one of the biggest disappointments in my life was my parents telling me that they would always take me to Six Flags, and that every summer would go by and we would never go. And not that I'm keeping track or that I remember anything or that I'm holding a grudge. I'm just saying one of my biggest traumatic things of my childhood was that right there. But that kind of pales in comparison of Superman 64. I remember my cousin, he was a huge Superman fan back in the day. And I remember when he got it and we were both super excited to play it. And we put it in and we had to fly through those rings and we're like, this game is hot garbage. Like we were so mad. We couldn't even finish our Surge sodas at the time. You know what I'm saying? We, I don't understand how that game was that bad. Like, I don't understand how it was made that way. Like, it had to have been in a time where people just didn't test the games. And maybe Retro Warriors has an episode on this game. If they don't, they need to get on it so I can listen to it and cringe. But what a huge disappointment. Like, oh my gosh. Superman 64. He's kidding, by the way. He's not. He actually came back and said that Ocarina of Time and Super Mario 64 were his faves back in the day. He also adds that recently he found a YouTube channel where a guy offered a $10,000 reward for the first person to beat a certain time limit on speedrunning Mario 64. Someone got the reward within a few days. Speedrunning on some of the old N64 games has been perfected so much that saving milliseconds matter. Have you... Speaking of that, because that's kind of been a thing with some of these games, especially Ocarina of Time. I have a friend who used to be really into the speedrunning community on that game. Have you seen any of the speedrunning stuff? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I hate that people call it, like, it's glitch finding is all speedrunning is.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm like, oh, I'll beat the game in 5 seconds. It's like, no, you found a glitch that you didn't really beat the game.
Yeah.
I feel like they should do speedrunning of like you have to actually play the game.
Right. And
like you can't find a glitch and exploit it. You actually have to play the game. So
hot takes.
I mean, it's cool. I've watched some glitches. They're like, I watched Shadow of the Tomb Raider speedrun with the developers.
Oh, really?
Commenting over it on IGN. You guys should check those out. Cool. They're hilarious. But it was, I mean, these guys were like, well, he just skipped over this cutscene. Because they just exploit glitches, but it's kind of funny when they break games.
Yeah. It's just, I always thought the same thing too. I was like, wait, you're not really playing the game then. You're just using an exploit to get to the end. I know some people are probably listening and they're cringing at this, but it's like, just our thoughts. We can agree to disagree, you know? The cool thing is, we got
hot off the presses here, Logan.
Hot takes.
Hot take coming in here right here. I got one for you. This is I'm diving in deep into Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine lore right now. Sorry to bring us back on the topic, but it's Metacritic has a 75 out of 100 for the N64 version.
Are you serious?
So I'm just saying.
Wow.
It says that the PC version was sometimes received a more favorable score. It got a 73, but yeah, as according to Wikipedia, the Metacritic for the N64 version is a 75.
Wow.
IGN gave it an 8.
Wow.
So,
wait, IGN was around back then? Like, I'm not trying to be rude. I didn't know that it was around back then. That's wild.
Anyways, I'm totally turning this into Indiana Jones. And when you play this game and you beat it, we'll go back and we'll do a specific episode for it.
I like how hyped you just got there. Like, I feel like you were just about to explode through the microphone, which is how hyped you got at the idea.
And then there was a Game Boy Color version of the game, but I never played it.
That's just wild. I can't even find the Twitter post that I opened up. There it is. So one of the other games that people brought up that I noticed that I haven't seen really anybody else mention was Bomberman. Did you ever play Bomberman?
I didn't. I was familiar with it, but I never played it.
I know I played it, but I can't remember how it goes. I think there was a grid and you could do 4 players and you drop a bomb and it sends a fire wave out along the grid, but it never went more than 4 directions unless you had a special bomb. And like, oh man, because I did the one on Switch. I can't remember the game. So one of you guys will have to remind me of this there. I think, man, there's a few more games I'm seeing on Twitter now. Now, did you ever play Diddy Kong Racing? Was that a game you ever got to try?
Diddy Kong was the poor man's Mario Kart.
Thank you.
It's like, if you wanted to play it, but you're like, this really isn't that much fun.
Yeah.
But I don't have Mario Kart, so I guess I'll make it happen. Like, if you had Mario Kart, there's no reason to ever play Diddy Kong. It's like the hovercrafts, the planes. That game, it is totally, the levels are pretty trash.
Yeah. Well, the planes just never control well. Like, they feel weird.
I've played it a lot, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a poor man's Mario Kart.
That is what it is. That is what it is. Now, I'm seeing this other game coming up a lot, and I never played it, so people are probably going to get mad. But did you ever hear of a game called Jet Force Gemini? Because I'm seeing this one come up quite a bit, too.
I've heard of it just from, again, being in video games now. Mm-hmm. You hear a lot of people talking about it as they talk about the 64, but I never played it.
Well, dear listeners, you guys are going to have to get into the Discord channel and our Discord server and educate us on this game. But this is another big one that came out on that we kind of have to talk about. I mentioned it a little bit when I brought up Spider-Man, which was a fantastic game on the N64. Like, oh my goodness. The only thing that was terrifying about that Spider-Man game, though, was when you got to the end and you fought that weird Doc Ock Carnage boss thing, and it had this weird, like, roaring sound. It was chasing you down a air duct. Gosh, that was nightmare fuel. You guys probably will have nightmares tonight just remembering that particular sequence at the end of the game. Great game, though. Really enjoyed it. But Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was a big game on there. Remember that one? What about you, man? Did you ever play Tony Hawk? Were you into skating at the time?
Oh, my goodness.
What was your experience with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater?
I think I played more Tony Hawk on I definitely played it on the 64, mm-hmm. but I feel like for some reason I maybe played it more on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
But, man, Tony Hawk games, that was when extreme sports were in their prime.
Yeah, for sure.
BMX games were really big then.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
Cool
that.
Borders, and that was a PlayStation game, but Snowboard Kids.
What's Snowboard Kids?
That was my jam. Did you ever play Snowboard Kids on 64? 1080 snowboarding is basically just a snowboarding game.
Wait.
But they're like little cartoon character kids.
I know 1080.
But those, I mean, NBA Hang Time, where you could it was like NBA Jam, but you could put crazy, create your own player. That was like the first time I remember making a create a player. You could have Team on Fire instead of just On Fire and NBA Jam. Like you could, if you did 3 straight alley-oops without the other team scoring, your whole team would be on fire.
Dope. Sounds awesome. Okay, I'm looking at Snowboard Kids right now. I remember seeing this game in the video store, but I don't think I ever played it. What's kind of tripping me out about it is that the same people that made Persona, or at least the same studio that made Persona, made this game, which is
GameStop gave Snowboard Kids a 5 out of 5.
Was it that good?
Apparently. Man. Oh, that's GameStop, not GameSpot. So that would make sense. The one person that reviewed it gave it a 5 out of 5. Take it back. I'm taking it back. Reel it in.
That's wild. That is wild. Yeah, no, I never played that. I used to play Tony Hawk all the time, though. I remember going through a phase, and this had to have been junior high. I wanted to get into skateboarding really bad, but I just didn't have a whole lot of patience for it. But like I would always play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, partially because the soundtrack was good, but also because it just well, it was easier to do the tricks in there than it was in real life. But man, it was just I remember playing that with friends even. Like here we go back to the multiplayer aspect of the N64, trying to like outdo each other with tricks and trying to get a better score than each other, trying to like see who could grind on the rails the longest, those kind of things. But like the cool thing about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was the ability to like unlock these really goofy costumes and stuff. I remember, I don't even know if this was the first one, the one where you could be like the Neversoft eye thing, like your head was the eye, and it was just like you were skateboarding with that. I know you could have the metal Spider-Man suit in one of them. Just all sorts of crazy stuff with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, man. What a game, man. What a time to be alive. Oh man. So dude, if we had to pick just one game to play for the rest of our lives on an N64, what game would you pick and why?
I mean, people are probably saying, "Oh, is you better pick Indiana Jones," but I probably would have to go. I mean, Mario 64 probably still has the biggest, most special place in my video game heart. Like that game was like the game changer, 3D platformer. All the different levels. Like I've played it probably more than any other 64 game. Just I love Mario 64. So if I had to pick one, that would probably be it.
Fair enough, man. You're gonna have to send me that so I can play it and see what this hype is all about. And then
you never played Mario 64?
Wait, I thought you said Indiana Jones.
No, I said I would. Most people would expect me to pick Indiana Jones, but I would have to probably go with Mario 64.
Gotcha. No.
I do need to send you the game still.
I'm gonna say no. Yeah, I have Super Mario 64. My bad. Golly, it's getting late. I don't know, man. For me, it's kind of hard to pick. Like I would want to pick Ocarina of Time, but like just revisiting this topic and thinking back to that time when I was playing the N64, I keep thinking about Turok 2: Seeds of Evil. Like just because I rented that game so much from the video store. Because my parents went through this period of like they didn't really want to buy me video games because they were kind of sick and tired of me playing video games, and they wanted me to grow out of them, but that wasn't happening. I was just getting more and more into video games, and like that was my first person shooter, and I just really enjoyed playing it. It was really cool, like fighting dinosaur soldier things and using the chainsaw boomerang thing. Come to think of it, I probably shouldn't have played this game at that young of an age, but I played it anyway. Had this cool weapon called the cerebral bore that would shoot a dart out into the dinosaur things and it would like drill into their heads and blow up. I know that sounds great and totally Christian, but like just like at my age at that time, I was like, this game is so stinking cool. Like, it's just so unique. I don't know. My big fear with that though is that I would play it and be like, man, this game does not hold up. So I don't know. I think I'm just gonna go with I think I'll go with Ocarina of Time just to be safe. Did you play Majora's Mask like on the N64? Now that I'm thinking about it,
I didn't really. I played it on the 3DS.
Gotcha.
So no, I was familiar with. Definitely, I knew of Zelda back then, but it wasn't really in mine.
I kind of want to go back and play that. I kind of wish I had played that. I played it on the game, or not the GameCube, the 3DS also. But man, I feel like I would have really enjoyed that on the N64. But yeah, man, what a system! What a system! Now let me ask you this thing. I know Nintendo has said this before that they're not really considering doing any more mini systems, but do you think that they should do a Nintendo 64 mini like they've done with the NES and the Super Nintendo?
I mean, the hard thing with it is how many controllers do you package with it? Do you give them 4? Do you give them 2 and you can buy more?
Yeah.
I mean, it would sell. There's no doubt. Yeah. I mean, if they did it, it would sell out like all the other ones. It's just a matter of at what point do they say we're going to add the games onto the Switch, Virtual Console versus the classics.
Yeah.
This would be the last. The 64 would be the last one that they do. You wouldn't go any further. I don't think you do a GameCube one. But I don't think we'll ever see it, though.
Yeah. I don't know that we will. I think we will see it on like a virtual console type thing before we see it on anything else. Man. Especially as like you said with the controller thing. I mean, we've talked it up enough already. The multiplayer aspect of this console, it really changed the landscape of gaming because of that. But man, do you have any other closing thoughts about the N64 before we wrap up?
Nothing new. Just what a great system.
Solid system. Easily a great system. Now we just got to do the GameCube next. And all the other systems that we're missing. But yeah, dear listeners, if you have thoughts, experiences, fun stories about the N64, some games that you played, let us know on the various social media outlets or in our Discord server and all of that fun stuff. But dear listeners, before we let you go, some recos. Let's tell the dear listeners some things to check out here. There they are. So, Adam, man, what are some things that our dear listeners should check out?
I'd say check out the book on prayer that I was mentioning, Prayer by John Onwucheckwa from 9 Marks. Definitely a good one. Again, if you're into baseball, there's some good apps out there, but the 9-inning one is another free one. But yeah, other than that, I can't think of anything. Oh, my wife and I did watch Jojo Rabbit. The movie. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've heard of it. I've heard a lot of chatter about it.
It was nominated for a lot of awards. Really cute, family friendly. Well, I can't say family friendly. Hits you in the feels. It's not like I can't say family friendly, but it's not like a bad like scary movie. But it was a good family movie for like me and my wife. I don't know what age I'd say you should watch with kids.
Gotcha.
But hits you in the feels. Very good story, well made. So that's another movie I would recommend.
Gotcha. As far as my recos go, I've got one written here that's just, in the season of life that we're all in right now. If you're working in a church or, you're just a Christian in general, I would challenge you to utilize social media to get real creative, to stay connected to your church, your congregation, your study group, your students and things like that. Zoom is a good app that I'm seeing a lot of churches use. I would even challenge you to do something like, I'm going to try this out with some of my students and their families, is have a Jackbox night where you stream it on Twitch and you just play together, because you can literally stream it and then up to 8 people can join with their phones. So try that out. I mean, technology is is at a point where we can really utilize it to maintain some sense of normalcy and connection and fellowship in this time. So I would say get creative, lean heavily into that. The other reco I'll give you is this website that I have been buying my retro games from for quite a while now. It's dkoldies.com, I believe. Link will be in your show notes. Really solid store. Their customer service is really, really good. And the stuff that they send out to you is just really good. It's good quality. And they know what they're doing, especially like they are killing it with their email game. I haven't seen a store, like a retail store, rock their emails like they do. They treat it like social media where they're like engaging with you. They're asking you questions. They're getting to know you. Like, these are the only emails I actually like getting from a store. Everybody else is like, here's how we're handling COVID-19. We're using the wipes to sanitize things. I'm like, that's what you should have been doing to begin with. Like, were you not doing that before? You're kind of freaking me out, dude. PetSmart, what are you doing? But these guys are like, what games are you in? Like, it's just cool because they want to get to know you. Really cool people over there. Check them out, dkoldies.com. We're not sponsored by them. I really like how they run their shop over there. And it's just really good stuff. So dkoldies.com, they've got an eBay store that you can check out as well. Come to think of it, I'm looking at my Metroid Prime games and I'm like, I should have bought them from DK Oldies and not random grandparents down in Florida. But yeah, so check them out, especially if you want to get into an N64. I think they had like a bundle going here recently. They might still have one. So if you want to get into the N64 and play some of these games that we talked about, it's a good place to start over there. But yeah, check them out, dkoldies.com. But dear listeners, thank you for checking out this episode of The Reformed Gamers. As always, if you'd like to lend support to the show, you can do so in a variety of ways. If you want to do so financially, you can go to patreon.com/TheReformedGamers, get your perks, all sorts of fun stuff right over there on patreon.com. And as always, you can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheReformedGamers, streaming Friday through Monday, streaming different games, Animal Crossing, Sekiro, which I need to get back into. We streamed Twin Breaker not too long ago. We're going to be streaming a lot of different games. Won't be streaming Bloodroots again because the people that were watching me play that were not fans of it. Or at least it seemed that way. I could be wrong. But we're going to be streaming a lot of games over there, so have fun with that. If you're a sub, enjoy the new emotes. You can also go to the website, thereformedgamers.com, check out new retrospectives, different articles and things of that nature. I think we got a Final Fantasy VII retrospective going up the week that this episode comes out, actually. So you can follow the website there. Be sure to check that out. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at TRG Podcast. You can like us on Facebook. You can join the Facebook group. You can follow us on Instagram. And I think that's everything, but all of our socials will be on our website. So words are hard. Go to our website, thereformedgamers.com. That has the links to everything there, so you can follow us on all of the different places. Adam, it was good to have you back, man.
Good to be back.
This was nice. I needed this. This is good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, dear listeners, as always, here's the new slogan. Be a deer. Keep it locked here. We'll catch you later.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Reformed Gamers, the podcast all about theology and gaming. TRG is edited by Dear Ear Productions, so thank them for the buttery smooth tones in your ear. If you're looking for extra content, head on over to youtube.com/TheReformedGamers. The Reformed Gamers is entirely fan-supported over on patreon.com/reformedgamers by our dear patrons. The following deer are at the producer level or higher and will forever be thanked at the end of each show, as long as their pledge comes through, or we forget to update the audio. Those people are David Matthews, The Lava Burner, Luke Strain, and Wesley Ray. Thank you for your support on patreon.com, keeping our controllers charged, and supporting Logan in his never-ending quest to collect them all. Platinum trophies, that is. So be a deer and keep it locked here. Keep listening. We'll catch you later.